Before I start, I'm curious to know who among us has North Node in Aries. I know that you and I do.
And Emo has the South Node in Aries, so he's the opposite to us. And I don't remember about anyone else.
I'm thinking, Lauren, do you not have North Node in Aries?
No, I have my North Node in Aquarius.
Oh.
She is an Aries.
I'm a Sun Aries.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Okay, so coming out of last week, I didn't get right into my research, but when Redlina's poster landed on my screen, I suddenly was inspired to leap ahead. And I realized that in that moment, I had this sense of retrospection, like that my research was to be a retrospective kind of taking a retrospective orientation. And when I considered this span of time from May 2020 to January of 2022, I immediately thought, when does that axis, or when did it coincide with the axis in my chart that brings in my Uranus opposite asteroid Eros at galactic center? I've been very interested in this part of the sky for many years, and this was the inspiration that came in when I saw Redlina's poster. So away I went into my journals, because I determined that the axis was coincident to the nodal axis was transiting galactic center back in, do I have the date up there? August. Okay. So the nodal axis activated this part of my chart. This is how I interpreted it. On that, and I can't see the top of my screen here, but the date was back in was it August of 2020? I'm getting mixed up on that. But anyway, as we've been talking about this notion of being called out, say being called to respond to some factor that we otherwise wouldn't have been paying attention to. I certainly come alive when this particular axis becomes activated. I don't know how many of you take into consideration the galactic center, but it's some people consider it to be more primary than the sun as a focal determinator in the chart. It's like the sun of our sun. And so it is a very powerful spot. And currently it's, I believe it's Sagittarius 27 degrees, which is exactly conjunct my natal Eros. And Eros is a very primal energy. This is the Eros that I resonate with is not the kind of the modern version of the cutesy Cupid and so on, but it's a very primal activator of the attraction between opposite polarities. So I did go into August 22nd of 2020 is when that axis was activated by the transiting nodes. And there we have from my journal, I have the title for that page, Aquarius Arise. Now this is a project that I have underway. And on that particular day, I was contemplating the notion of attracting people who are interested in bringing this vision into form. So I'm looking for a Saturn-Uranus support group because the cycle of this Aquarius Arise event is tied to the Saturn-Uranus cycle. The name meme team came to mind. So I'm imagining a group of memers working together to further this kind of consciousness, this holistic, Aquarian infused kind of consciousness. On the right is a little diagram. I'm realizing that this last quarter square of the current Saturn-Uranus cycle, which is that is the focal point for this, that there are 3 days in 2021 when that relationship is exact. So beginning on, well, let's see. Okay, rather than go into the dates, I'll just bring you into receiving the inspiration for this. We'll call it an event, was back in September 24th of 2017. And I had an encounter with, I'll say, a spirit being who took me into realms that I was very unfamiliar with. It was very Shakti, energetic. It was very transcendent, but I had this huge feeling about this upcoming Saturn-Uranus square. And this is a painting that I did to exemplify that. And this quote from Barbara Clow really goes along with what that feeling was for me. Oops. And I'm sorry, I can't see. Sorry for that. I can't read the text there because it's blocked out once again, and I don't see, whoop.
Let me know if you need any help, Dwayne.
Yes, I need help, Redlina. Please read the text that goes with this panel.
I just don't see any text right now, but...
Okay, well, here it comes.
Okay. So that's a quote by Barbara Clow. The real power we have comes from alignment with natural processes that have existed in the cosmos from the beginning of time.
Thank you. So I'm here evoking that sense of coming into alignment with the cosmic cycle, which is what the Saturn-Uranus cycle is. And it's the notion of being in alignment with it, being connected to it in such a way that you're moving with the energy of that particular cycle. So that means that what you're, in a sense, riding is a cosmic wave. It's the integration point between the orbits of the two planets. It's like riding a surfboard, and phase by phase by phase, the cycle unfolds, and there's appropriate action at each stage of the cycle, but the appropriate action changes. So it's different to be acting at the beginning of the cycle than it is acting towards the end, for example. So again, going back into my journals, this was my journal entry back in September 2017. I'm now developing the original insight, the big feeling. I'm now plotting the Saturn-Uranus cycle. I'm getting, because I'm working with the Mayan calendar, I'm starting to get hieroglyphs show up. I'm working with the I Ching. The I Ching is part of that. And consolidating all of this information with the sense that there's some work for me to do here, some work that will engage others. So as I've indicated on the right panel, Aquarius Arise, a collective gateway. And I'm really seeing it that way, that this is an opportunity for those of us who are really prepared to step out of the box, let's say, and embrace a more transcendent view of things, this is an opportunity to do that together and do that consciously. And there is then appropriate action at this particular time. And it has a lot to do with the crisis in consciousness that comes at the last quarter square. Doesn't matter whether it's the lunation cycle or the Saturn-Uranus cycle or the Venus-Mars cycle. At the last quarter square of that cycle, there is this crisis in consciousness. It's about who are my friends? What can I rely on? What do I need to let go of in order to be able to move on in preparation for the next new moon part of the cycle, which will take us into a whole other dimension. So in that last quarter to new moon sector, it's all about letting go, letting go, letting go, getting down to the seed essence. Another page from my journal. This a couple of days later, I'm developing the whole idea further. I'm starting to concretize the feeling. So just an overview. As I'm saying, this is the last quarter crisis in consciousness. If we look back to the origin of this cycle, we go back to 1988. And it turns out that the Saturn-Uranus conjunction at that time was at galactic center. So that gives us a clue as to the breadth and depth of this particular Saturn-Uranus cycle. And it's within that time frame that the whole of the Mayan calendar teachings have come forward and been dispensed. And it's all the Mayan cosmology centers on galactic center. 2008 was a very significant time in the USA, for example. That was exactly to the day of the Saturn-Uranus opposition was the election of Barack Obama. That to me signaled a very specific connection between this cycle, this Saturn-Uranus cycle, and American politics. And I think most people would agree with me that right now America is in crisis, and people are desperately trying to get to the truth of what's really going on. And letting go, certainly letting go of mainstream media big time. And Radlina, please.
So that's from Roger's Culture, Crisis and Creativity.
Yes.
As soon as the evolutionary need for a new quality of humanness is felt, the old forms begin to break apart and to reveal their obsolescence. Then the crisis begins. It may be called catharsis at the psycho-personal level or revolution at the social-political level. At the telluric planetary level, it may refer to a glacial period and an alteration of the direction of the polar axis. When the crisis begins, the relation of a significant group of individuals particularly sensitive and mentally alert to their society's needs takes on, at least potentially, a new character. A new role presents itself to them, a creative, transformative role.
Thank you. A significant group of individuals particularly sensitive and mentally alert to their society's needs. I'm imagining that even within our group here, we have the seeds of that kind of orientation as a group. So This would be kind of the latest iteration of the graphics that I've created around this feeling I received back then. And I've acquired the domain aquariusarise.net. And if you would like to explore this further, just check that out. It's actually an embedded website in my larger website of the Lightning Path. So we can look forward to, in 2021, 3 exact, or what do we call it, perfecting of the last quarter square. So February 17th, June 14th, and December 23rd. So my intention is to, at minimum, on those days, have a Zoom call with whoever wants to participate, just to show up and be conscious of the passage through this, let's call it a gateway. You're all invited. And there we go.